What if you spent most of your life, maybe all of it, devoted to a religion that demanded much of your time, your money, and your mind?
It is our responsibility to be Scientologists, no matter where we live or work, no matter our resources or excuses.
What if you then publicly broke from that religion and the entire belief system that defined your world?
I mean, if you're a Scientologist, you see life, you see things the way they are, in all its glory.
And what if that religion then publicly denounced you, your character, and your motives? Well, then perhaps you'd find yourself talking like actress Leah Remini.
No one ever wants to turn around and go, okay, this thing I've been defending and promoting and helping was a lie.
Remini's own story arc rivals that of any character she's ever played. Born in Brooklyn, raised in the church, she would rise to stardom on the hit sitcom The King of Queens.
Hey, how about this? How about this? I go over there, punch him in the head, and come right back.
Carrie, no!
Like Tom Cruise and other celebrity Scientologists, Remini vocally supported the church.
We are the most ethical group you're ever going to find, and actually the only group that's really making change for mankind.
I promoted the church, I defended the church.
The church believes Scientology can liberate the individual mind and indeed the entire human race from its current state of enslavement by studying the teachings of its founder, the prolific 20th century science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard.
Scientology means knowledge or truth, study of.
Hubbard's elaborate belief system involved an alternate history of the universe and a unique vocabulary to describe Scientology's concepts and practices.
He is a spirit, and he actually can exist independent of his body. This is one of the more interesting discoveries in Scientology.
The church's promotional videos highlight its international efforts to quite literally save the world. What does it do for you, the individual? Why would I join?
Well, what you would be told is that you're working to be your better self in all areas of your life.
The way Leah tells it, her disillusionment with the church traces back to this man.
My name is David Miscavige.
David Miscavige, who took over the church in 1986 after Hubbard died.
They would call me a word called disaffected, which was that I was showing signs of not being in line with the group.
That disaffection has driven Remini to join a group of former Scientologists crusading against the church as passionately as they once defended it.
The actual writings and teachings of Scientology is harmful and dangerous to people.
After leaving the church in 2013, then penning a sulfuric tell-all, Leah has now taken off the gloves completely.
Who are you working for?
Escalating her battle with Scientology as the paid executive producer and star of a new A&E series. So how would you describe the show?
I would describe the show as a documentary on the abuses of the Church of Scientology.
Each episode finds the former sitcom star crisscrossing the country, harvesting tales of other disillusioned ex-church members.
And I went through hell.
Unconditional love does not exist in Scientology.
I thought he was going to kill somebody.
Nobody deserves to have their family torn apart because of a belief system.
The church describes the show as anti-religious hate speech and has plenty more to say about Remini and her Confederates. They sent us this box. It's filled with documents, thumb drives with video.
I've seen the most disgusting comments on things towards Scientologists from people who have no idea what it is.
Look at it yourself and don't rely on some other third party to tell you about it.
All those charges and countercharges, sometimes boiling over into open confrontation.
You're going to tell me that you're not a private investigator?
Dispatches from the front lines of a war without guns. You said on the show that you actually feel responsible personally, given how much you did to promote the church.
I do have a responsibility. What I'm saying is, hey, you're abusing people, and then on top of that, you're victimizing your victims.
The people Remini calls victims are former church members who now say the church is essentially a totalitarian organization, pressuring members to spend lots of money for courses and books, to submit without question to the church's ethics and disciplinary codes, and indoctrinating them to believe that Hubbard's writings are infallible gospel. The church characterizes everything you see on that broadcast and on this one as a shameless attempt to profit off the defamation of Scientology.
Disgruntled people make better stories than happy people, so unfortunately, that's the way our news seems to be these days.
The church points out, correctly, that ABC holds a 50% ownership stake in A&E, the network which airs Remini's show. Further, the church says, aside from this project, Remini hasn't done anything remotely successful in years.
Would you say that this, for lack of a better word, fight against the church has taken over your career?
Many people wish they had a hit show in their lifetime. I don't have to work. I still love what I do. But a big part of Leah, which the world doesn't know, is that I fight for people.
Leah Remini seems to be making a career out of attacking Scientology.
Just yesterday, 2020 sat down with Monique Yingling, an attorney for the Church of Scientology, for this rare on-camera interview.
Let's just stop. Let's stop. Everything she's been doing on her show has been scripted, rehearsed, acted, and then dramatized.
So you think her motives here are to make money and keep herself in the public eye?
I've heard it before. I'm going to hear it again.
But just to run this down, you do get paid and you do get attention for doing this stuff.
I don't work for free. This is a very demanding job. I'm not going to justify. They get paid. They got $3 billion in assets. I'm not saying, hey, I'm the savior of your world. I have all the solutions to your life.
My life is pretty freaking awesome, and I'm functioning at a very high level. My life in the last 12 years is completely turned around.
Come and pay me, give me your life, give me your money, give me your children.
Do you think David Miscavige is watching the show?
Yes.
What would you say to him?
Nothing. I think it's always like cheesy when you guys ask these kinds of questions. Like anybody would sit and go, yes, I want to talk directly to the camera. Like, do people actually bite on this one?
All the time.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. The only thing I hope that he hears is I'm going to continue to tell these stories.
Leah Remini may now be the world's most famous anti-Scientologist, but she's certainly not the first.
Kick, choke, through to the ground.
The church has become the vulture culture.
The year was 1990.
Words from a book showed me the way.
The Church of Scientology produced this publicity music video.
Take us from clear to eternity.
During the song's stirring chorus, the camera pans across a group of Scientologists singing along. That there is the church leader, David Miscavige, front and center. Also in the frame, two high-ranking officials, Marty Rathbun and Mike Rinder, who would later become twin firebrands of the anti-Scientology movement.
Fine that you leave. Don't complain about it.
Mike Rinder was head of the Office of Special Affairs, dealing with public relations and legal affairs. He left in 2007 after what he calls a crisis of faith, fueled, he says, by multiple instances in which David Miscavige himself punched or struck him.
David Miscavige has two personas. He has this public persona where he's all like a politician, glad-handing, shaking hands, smiling, happy, and then he becomes very cruel, very controlling, very vicious.
I'll tell you, from my perspective, the person getting harassed is myself and the church.
Rathbun, who served as Miscavige's number 2, worked extensively with top-ranking celebrity Scientologists during difficult times, such as Tom Cruise's divorce from Nicole Kidman.
I did little else but work to recover Tom to Scientology and help him get through the divorce.
But Rathbun told ABC he became concerned as Miscavige turned increasingly violent.
There was two other top managers within the church that he regularly, hit with his fists, kicked, choked, threw to the ground.
The church has consistently denied that Miscavige was ever physically abusive.
He's very demanding of his subordinates, but I have never seen, and nor do I believe that he would ever resort to physical violence.
In videos like this, it denounces Rathbun as an apostate and insists that he was the problem.
You have admitted, though, haven't you, that you were physically aggressive when you were at the upper echelons of the church?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, we all were. We had to be. It was part of the culture.
Miscavige pontificating on the other side with his arms up. Lean back, arms up, big bicep muscle routine.
The two left, but they did not go quietly. Rathbun launched a website attacking Miscavige and the church. Much more on him later.
Earlier, I spoke with Mike Rinder.
It's explosive stuff.
David Miscavige is strangling you.
Absolutely.
I'm rolling the other cameras.
Meanwhile, Rinder became a familiar face on television, denouncing the church at every opportunity.
This is an astonishingly wealthy organization that has managed to soak a hell of a lot of money out of a lot of people for a long time and accumulated it.
Have you made peace with all of it? Like, all the stuff that you did?
In general terms, yes.
Rinder is now a paid consultant on Leah Remini's show, providing a running commentary on the church's alleged depredations.
Anybody who is an enemy or a critic of Scientology may have anything done to them with the idea that the ends justifies the means. Those two are PIs.
In a recent episode, Rinder confronted some men he suspected were private investigators hired by the church to tail him.
Who are you? Who are you?
He's also spent ample airtime decrying a controversial church practice known as disconnection, in which members break all contact with people, including family members, who the church deems suppressive. Church attorney Monique Yingling told us that when members disconnect, it's for good reason.
When someone in the church decides they no longer want to communicate with someone who's left the church, it only happens if that person starts to attack the church and attack their beliefs.
Is that voluntary, though?
Of course, it's always voluntary.
It's patently absurd. It's just ridiculous. You have the choice of whether you want to disconnect or not. The rest of that sentence is, and if you don't disconnect, then we will then deem you what is called a suppressive person, and everybody that you know that is a Scientologist will disconnect from you.
If you don't disconnect from a suppressive person, will you be kicked out of the church?
No, you won't be kicked out of the church. There may be specific services that you would not be able to participate in so long as you're connected to a suppressive person.
Right, so it's voluntary, but there are consequences if you don't disconnect.
Well, there are consequences in every choice we make in life.
In this building...
The church points out that Mike Rinder has been attacking his former religion for years, and sometimes for money. That is in part why, according to the church, Rinder's family has disconnected from him.
My son is in that building. This is called the Superpower Building.
We paid a visit with Rinder to Flag Base, the church's spiritual headquarters in Florida.
When's the last time you saw him?
2003, maybe. This is why I do what I do.
This visit was considerably less eventful than this one back in 2010.
You're violating the law.
When Rinder went looking for his son Benjamin with Marty Rathbun in tow.
You just need to leave right now. You're not welcome here. Sir, you're bumping up against
Watch
me.
it.
Don't batter.
Watch it.
Please do not batter.
Watch it, buddy.
Step out there.
Show me
The church has strenuously exerted itself to discredit Rinder.
He knows that what he's saying is false.
It provided us with these interviews with his estranged children.
He's just trying to create a fabricated story or something. And I said, I want nothing to do with him.
I wouldn't really call him a dad. I don't remember my dad ever being there. Ever, ever, ever. Not once. I thought he hated me.
There's something almost Shakespearean about the fact that here's this guy who was one of the fiercest advocates for the church.
Please welcome Mr. Mike Rinder.
Who's now on the receiving end of the office he served.
Sure. He was believing that what he was doing was right. It's because of what the church tells you that they're doing for the world that you dedicate your life to something.
We mark a new era. Remember that. To LRH.